Hello, everyone. So, before we begin today, I'd like to start with a question for all of you. And when you think of a child who's doing well, what comes to your mind first? Like good marks, good behavior, good mood, good health. And if the child is scoring well, is in a good mood, but still silently struggling with anxiety, self doubt, loneliness, would you still say that the child is still thriving? And so, on that note, I welcome everyone to today's webinar on the topic helping children thrive from mental health perspective. So, studies from organizations like World Health Organization highlights that half of all the mental health conditions begin at the age of 14, and yet many go unnoticed. The UNICEF has also reported that the emotional distress, anxiety, behavior changes are increasingly common among children and adolescents globally. Well-being directly impacts our brain development, learning capacity, attention, and decision making. And often, sometimes when we label children as stubbornness, laziness, or a misbehavior, maybe it could be the anxiety, the overwhelming, stressful situations, or maybe a need for connection. And when we shift our lens from control to understanding, we create a safe space for children. Uh, and today's conversation is about that shift, and with us, we have Miss Harshita Verma. She is a child and adolescent psychologist with a master's degree in psychology and advanced diploma in child guidance and counseling. She has extensive experience working with children and adolescents, focusing on their mental well-being, life skill development, and social emotional learning. She is currently working with the Delhi Government School, where she actively supports students, parents, educators through counseling. And she is trained in evidence-based therapeutic approaches such as CBT, play therapy, and she also conducts workshops that aims to promote emotional resilience, self-awareness, and holistic development among young individuals. And with that, I welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Ashi, for the warm welcome. And thank you for having me today. I think you started with a very reflective question that is, uh, how do we measure success, or when do we say that the child is actually successful with what they have? A lot has been discussed about mental health in the past few years, and but I believe that we have, however, left a very significant segment of the population, which is children and adolescents. We do talk about mental health a lot, but are we talking about what makes a child truly successful? And when we say, we usually talk about, we have a very academic oriented approach towards it, and a very achievement oriented approach. Today I want to make sort of help uh, all of us understand and make a shift in how we approach children and their mental health. Helping children thrive, a mental health perspective, is basically we are going to talk about how and which lens should we view children from, right? Um, what we'll cover today is why talking about children's mental health is important. Why do we need a separate sort of understanding when we talk about children's mental health? We will also talk about the current scenario in which our children are growing up, and what children need from us given the different circumstances that they are growing up in. What are the red flags or the signs that we need to watch out for, and some practical steps that can actually help anybody who is working closely with children, or if you're a parent or a caregiver. Starting with, why do we need to talk about children's mental health and have a separate conversation around it? It's because I believe that childhood is the training ground for adulthood. So, how we treat our children, what kind of skills we impart with them, has a huge role in how they grow up as adults. So, emotional well being, as we all know, is essential for our overall health. And early childhood experiences can have a long lasting impact on children. So it sort of helps in building a foundation for our overall health. As we know that physical, social, mental, all of these segments of well-being goes together. So we need to have a strong foundation on in emotional well-being. Uh, so, talking about emotional wellness is all about, what kind of view a person has towards themselves. And in case of children, we are specifically talking about whether they have good self esteem or not. That is how they view themselves, and how the adults around them view them has a huge role on how they view themselves. So, having a strong sense of self, as well as having the ability to not only name the emotions, but also have the ability to sort of regulate. So, naming is the first step, and then regulation is the ultimate goal when we talk about emotional wellness. Um, Coming to what is the current scenario, before we engage in how we can help them become more emotionally strong and how we sort of help them thrive, we need to first understand the kind of world that they are growing up in. So, coming to the first point, which is digital overload. Now, we all know that, after COVID and in general, also, I believe children have shifted from outdoor games to online games a lot. We cannot remove the screens, the screens are here to remain, but we can definitely help them impart skills which are important in helping them sift through the overload of information that is there. So it's very important that we sort of help them develop the critical thinking skills. That is, even if they are having a huge flow of information, what is right, what is wrong, how much they should be taking in, and what all should they be leaving out. And that is something that is very important, and adults play a huge role in that. So even if your child is, let's say, using screen a lot, but are you constantly there with them, sort of helping them understand what they are watching is not true? Because when children watch any sort of video games, there might be violence in that. So the parent needs to be around the child and tell them that such behavior is not something that they should be engaging in, and what can be the consequences of every behavior that they view online. And as we know that if the child start using phones or social media at very early age, especially children from 2 to 12 years of age, they do have long lasting impacts, and especially during adolescence, because they develop unrealistic beauty standards. They constantly compare themselves to what is there out, and they sort of their entire identity is based on the number of likes and the followers that they have. So it's very important that even if your child is using screen, we should be mindful so as to help them understand what is real and what is not real. And I think in the recent years, we've been talking about cyber safety, cyber bullying, and there have been a lot of cases around it. So we definitely need to help them provide with that sort of digital literacy. That is, how to be safe online and how to not interact with certain sites and certain individuals. Coming back to the second point, which is academic and performance pressure. So, like children are online and they do have a lot of information, they're also quite aware about the competition that lies ahead. So, students who come to me, they do have an idea and understanding that, um, so and so job is very competitive, and they sort of have that pressure inside them that they need to be best at what they do, which creates a lot of anxiety at a very early age. And they do have a fear of failure. So, more than disappointing themselves, they have a fear of disappointing the adults in their life, because parents also know the competition that is there, and they sort of want their kid to be the best at what they are doing, which definitely creates a lot of pressure. And that is why we have a lot of conversation around exam anxiety, exam stress, especially, around board. And so that's something there. And definitely then there's a pressure to stand out, to be very different, to be the best at what they do.
Ma'am, I
um
also feel like with the academic pressure, there is also pressure of doing extra curricular activities, engaging in extra hobbies and everything, to also have that, and as well as doing good academically. So again, earlier there was just an academic pressure that was on children, but
yeah,
in today's generation, there are a lot of other pressures with academic pressure.
definitely, definitely. There's now, the parents don't want their child to just be good in math, science, etc. They want them to, be good at some sport, or some skill that they want them to develop. So yeah, that's definitely there, which, as you said, creates an additional pressure on the kids. Then, talking about the uncertainty about the future, they know that, the global crisis that is out there. They know the kind of change and unpredictable nature of the world. So they are constantly confused what to do, which career option to choose, what are the technological changes that are happening, what kind of impact will it have on the career that they are, looking forward to. So that's definitely an added pressure, especially when we talk about adolescence, which is a great period of turmoil in itself. And then adding on to the uncertainty, it creates a lot of anxiety and stress. Then emotional disconnect, which is, I think, very, very prevalent in today's time. We have seen in recent, past, and recently also, we have seen how, parents' unavailability causes a lot of, social isolation among children and adolescents. And like I said earlier, that we are not only, the children are now moving to screens, so they have less opportunities to socialize. And so they are either on their phone, and even when they go to school, they are just talking about, what they watched, or what kind of games that they are playing. So now we are seeing a decline in the number of social opportunities that children earlier used to have. So that's sort of, creating a more social isolation for the kids. And definitely there's less unstructured play. Earlier, kids used to go out and play in the evening. That was a routine for them. That was something that they looked forward to. But now they are mostly at home watching TV or watching YouTube, being on the social media. So they don't have that sort of socialization opportunities, which definitely creates problem later on in life, because they have less people to fall back on. They don't have the social support. They don't have friends apart from the family. And even when they are with the family, the parents are on their phones, and the kid is on, their tab or phones. So that is sort of creating a lot of distance between parents and kids, as well as between the larger population. uh, Now we are coming to what then thriving actually means. So, thriving, as the word suggests, is different from just surviving in this competitive and comparison driven world. We are talking about the child's ability to, first of all, name and understand the kind of emotions that they have, and also being able to regulate, which is, like I said, is the ultimate goal. And they are able to have, the ability to bounce back, which is resilience. That is, the ability to bounce back from any failure, any setback that they have. And it is also being able to adapt to changes. Like I said, that the world is constantly changing, there's so much unpredictability, uncertainty, so they should be able to sort of adapt to the changes that are happening, and at the same time have a strong sense of identity, which is the cornerstone of having good emotional well-being. So that is what thriving actually means. So if we look at it at a glance, it's emotional intelligence, which is EQ, which is, I think, very rarely talked about. Mostly parents and everybody else is focusing on the IQ, that is the academic part, and less on the emotional intelligence, which is the ability to manage your emotions well, understand other person's emotions, and at the same time have empathy, which is, being uh, understanding things from another person's perspective, which I think is very much needed in today's world, wherein we are just focused on ourselves and we are unable to regulate. Especially anger is something that we have seen rise in children. So that is emotional intelligence. When we talk about the ability to bounce back and handle challenges, that is resilience. And the last is the adaptability, which is to embrace any change and stay flexible. And when all these three taken together, that is what thriving actually means. And that is very, very important when we talk about children, and how they can actually be happy and successful in today's world. Okay. Now I'm going to talk about what are the things that children actually need from us as caregivers, as adults, as anybody who works closely with kids. So, children, like I said, are facing a lot of emotional disconnect. They are not very emotionally attached, they don't have secure attachment. That is, having a warm, consistent relationship with an adult. And research has shown that having just one adult a child can share their feelings with, and somebody who can help them out, is enough for them to not have any mental health issues later on in life. So even having just one adult is enough for a child. So, emotional anchoring, which is having the emotional stability in their life, having consistent sort of a relationship, a secure, warm relationship, is what children need right now from the adults. Um, and when we talk about, like I was talking about, how children are on the screen a lot more than before, and they sort of need not just digital literacy, that is how to be safe online, they also need the emotional literacy along with that. That is how to name your emotions, how to regulate. So if a child is saying, I am irritated, and they are not throwing a temper tantrum, we can say that the child has emotional literacy, because they are able to name the feeling. They are not engaging in any sort of harmful behavior, and they are actually just expressing what they are feeling. So that is what is emotional literacy is all about. So we don't need to just teach the kids about these are the basic emotions. We also need to teach them the coping skills that are there. That is how you sort of name your emotions and then sort of help them regulate it. So that is there. um, then children need a safe space, a judgment free zone where they can come and share everything. Now I know, having said that, it's not easy to not judge anybody. But with parents, what they can do is they need to listen. And there's a concept called validation, wherein a adult just listens to what the child is saying without agreeing or disagreeing. So they sort of say that, okay, I can see that you are quite upset, something is bothering you, would you like to talk about it? So that's validation. You're not saying that, oh, you get upset with such silly things, or you're always upset, you always get angry. You don't use that sort of word or sentence with the child, but you actually validate what they are saying. So you're not saying that, your feelings or your emotions are small or they are not worthy of my time. You're actually giving them the space, a judgment free zone where they can come and share everything. Then is normalize failure, which is very needed in today's competitive world, where we are just celebrating our success. We are always putting up stories or status that my child scored so and so, or even adolescents, they are just putting up posts that I got admission in this course, I did that. So it's very important to also normalize failure, wherein we fall back on resilience, which is the ability to bounce back from challenges or setbacks, which is very important. Otherwise, that leads to a lot of problems again in adulthood, where there is a lot of competition, and so they need to have a safety net. They need to have somebody they can call up and share things with. So all of these, if you really look at it, all of this is very much connected to each other. And like I said, that adults have a huge role to play in this, because a child doesn't have that sort of emotional regulation. They need to develop this over time. It's a skill that they learn. It's not something that they are born with. So for example, like when an infant is crying, we always pick them up and we sort of try to soothe them. But with adolescents or with children, when they grow up in the middle childhood or early childhood, we need to sort of pick them up psychologically, wherein we again validate their emotions, we give them space to speak, and we normalize whatever they are feeling. So okay, now coming to what are the signs that we need to watch out for. If you are anybody, a parent or a caregiver, and you need to know whether the child is really struggling, is these are the few things that you need to look out for. First is increased irritability, which is, I think, very common in adolescents and children in general. But let's say that that has gone for a really long time and it is happening for every small thing, then that's something that we need to be concerned about. And we need to understand that, behind every emotion or every sort of difficult behavior that we see in the child, there's always a unmet need that the child has. They're probably not getting what they want, which is why they are behaving and in a certain way, which we often call as difficult behaviors. So we need to watch out for this. Second is social withdrawal, that is not interacting with anybody, being on their own, wanting to stay alone, and sort of not engaging in activities that they used to enjoy earlier. Then is very common is the sleep disturbance. That is, they have difficulty falling asleep, or they are up most of the time. So that's one. Excessive gaming or scrolling. If your child is spending 6 to 8 hours on the screen every day and not engaging in any conversation with their friends or with you, then that's a sign that we need to watch out for. Negative self talk, which is very, very common in adolescents, especially because they are at that stage where they are trying to form a identity for themselves. And that is also a time when they have this concept of imaginary audience, where they feel that everybody is looking at them and everybody is sort of judging them. So that is something that we really need to watch out for. If the child is or if the adolescent is constantly having very negative view of themselves and about the future as well, that I won't be able to do this, I'm a failure, or I don't look so and so. So that is something that is very commonly found with children who are struggling. Fear of trying new things. Now that can be any sort of new thing that you want the child to uh, engage in, but they are not very open to it. Now one thing is that none of these sign alone can say that your child is struggling. Taken together, we can say that, okay, these are the signs that the child is presenting for over a prolonged period of time. So we cannot say that, okay, my child is, showing all these signs for a week. That's that's not enough. We need to actually watch out. We also need to see whether it is consistent in all environment or not, whether it's happening only at school or only at home. Then we need to see whether the child is having problems at school or is it home, that they are not, getting the emotional anchoring that they are looking for. So these are the few signs that we need to watch out for. Okay. Now, coming back to what the child needs from us. Now, these are certain practical strategies, something that the adult or the caregiver can actually do in order to make sure that the child gets what they are looking for. First is a 10-minute daily no phone conversation. Now, a lot of, adults who come to me, parents, they always say that, we don't have so much time to give to our child. We both are working, we have busy schedules, we cannot take 2 3 hours every day with the child. Now, I'm not saying that you need to give 2 3 hours every day. Even a 10 minute, a half an hour talk with the child where you both share what, how was your day, what all went throughout, what was good, what was bad, that's enough for the child, because they know that you are there and you are listening to them, and at the same time you also share what, how your day went, because that's also something that will create a safe space between the two of you. So you just need a 10-minute uninterrupted conversation between you and the child. And that will also teach the child that, it's important when we are talking to somebody, we keep our devices away. We don't have to be on the phone or on the tabs all the time. And very very important is ask open ended questions. Give the child the space to sort of share whatever they are going through. If you will ask close ended questions, the child won't have the sort of, the space to share what they went through. Then, like I said earlier, teaching coping tools, which is the coping skills. That is, what are your hobbies? What are the things that you actually do when you're not feeling good? That is something I think we learn very later on in life. That is, that we need to take out some time every day for ourselves, wherein we do things that make us feel good. So that is something that we need to teach them very early on, so that whenever they have a setback, whenever they are unable to regulate a emotion, they can fall back on these skills. So helping them manage stress and big emotions in a healthy way. So that can be, deep breathing techniques, which are very much easy and available even on YouTube. So you and your child together can do it. Even in the classrooms now, we are, focusing on how to have mindfulness minutes every day. So that's something that we can do on a daily basis, so that it becomes a habit. Once it becomes a habit, it will be easier for the child to do it anytime they are feeling, a lot of any sort of big emotion. Then journaling, which is, writing whatever you are feeling, and physical movement, very very important, because the kind of build up energy that they have, they can channelize it through any physical activity, be it running, be it, exercising. And I think for the kids, it's very very important to have unstructured playtime. So we need to believe in the power of play, which I think we have forgotten over time. That is, giving them the time to just play without a lot of rules or without a lot of, structure. Then positive self talk, like I said, that, you also model it, and help the child to learn these skills, that, I can do well, I will handle this. All of these small things can have a long lasting impact. Then encourage offline hobbies, which I think we have discussed. reading, art, music, anything that the child actually enjoys, and not sort of, focus on achievement in this, that, even if you're drawing, it has to be very perfect. No, it is just for you, for something, you can express yourself in. So even if the child is using any color or uh, any art material, that can be really helpful for the child, because they can easily express themselves. Then board games, puzzles, which also has a huge role to play in the cognitive development as well. So definitely we can encourage that, and that can be used as a very good family time. So all of you sit together and sort of play any board game. That can be a very good bonding time for the child and for the family. Then reduce comparison language, which I think is very, very important, which parents don't often realize, but they do engage in. So, so and so friend is doing so well. Why don't you also do that? A comparison driven language is something that we need to give up, because already the child is comparing so much, because they are online, and like I said, there's this culture of likes and followers. So they are already having that comparison lens in them. So we as adults should not be using that language. um, then focus on personal growth instead of competition, which is basically focusing on, where were you and now how far you have come. That is something that we need to focus on. We should be putting focus on, the efforts and not the outcome. So efforts should be very important, and the focus should not be on the outcome. Then having, just reinforcing individual strengths, progress that the child has made, and, encouraging them, because encouragement will definitely lead to confidence later on. Now, this is like I said earlier, also, I was talking about validation. I found this very interesting. So, this, as you can see, is basically a coffee filter. So, if this is an analogy that I often use when explaining what is validation. So, the child will, give you any sort of emotion. Let's say they are acting very, they are very upset, and they are very angry, and they are sort of hurt. So they will give you any emotion, but you as a parent or as a caregiver need to act like a filter. So you tell them that, okay, you are upset, I can see that. Now let's try something that will make you feel good, or do you want to talk about it? So you're sort of giving them the filter, so that they don't use that emotion as an excuse to act in a certain way that can, have negative consequences later. So you as an adult needs to act like a filter, filtering out any impurities or anything that the child is giving you, and then you sort of help them make sense of what they are going through. Because there's this emotion part of the brain and the thinking part of the brain, and when we validate children's emotion, we create that path. Otherwise, the child is not able to do that on their own. They need additional help, they need those skills, and that skill is can come from validation, it can come from emotional regulation, which will definitely, help the child make sense of what they are going through. Now, I would like to, end with this quote that I found, which says that either we spend a lot of time meeting children's emotional need, or we spend time dealing with their difficult behavior. The choice is ours, right? So we need to spend time either way. It's up to us whether we spend it on sort of, reprimanding them, correcting them all the time, or we actually spend time in helping them learn the skills that can actually have a long lasting impact on them as an adult. So we need to remember that childhood is the training ground, and adulthood, if we want our children to grow up as resilient adults, then childhood is the foundation stage. So with that, I end the presentation.
So, ma'am, with the coffee filter analogy, could you like also give us an example of an emotion where a child might be feeling angry, and then the parent might help the child understand where where the anger is coming from. So it could be like the child is not able to perform good in his exam, and that is because he felt that uh, maybe he is not capable of doing getting good marks, and that is where that the anger was coming. And then through this the parent might be acting as a filter there and helping the child understand the the main emotion that was there, and helping
Okay.
him understand the secondary emotions. Is this what you were saying?
Yeah, so like you said, that let's say the child is not able to perform well in an exam, and the child is, throwing things, for example, because they are so upset, or they have stopped eating food, anything like that. So that's
Hmm.
the primary emotion, is definitely what we can see is the anger part, where they are throwing things, or refusing to do anything. The secondary emotion is definitely the anger that they are showing, right? So we need to, the parent, what they can do is sort of again validate by saying that, okay, I know that you are upset, which is why you are showing anger. So what you can do is probably now again encourage the child, say that just one exam doesn't define your life, and you can definitely try and deal with it later. For now, just try, let's both of us sit together and let's leave this situation for some time, and then we'll come back to it and we can see what we can do about it. So sort of giving them the time to relax, to think, and then act on it. So that is something that the parent can do.
Right. And like, ma'am, one key takeaway for the parents in understanding like the whole concept of well-being for children.
So, like I said, that with every difficult behavior, there is some unmet need that the child has, and the parents need to identify that unmet need, and that is the way forward. If they are not understanding why their child is behaving a certain way, just sit and think about it, that what is my child not getting, probably from me or the larger social environment that the child is growing up. And I'm not putting the entire pressure on the parents, it's also the peers, the school, because that is the larger ecosystem that the child grows up in. So it's not just the parent, but since the parents are the first point of contact, so definitely they need to think about it, and also be watchful about the all the red flags or the signs that we talked about. So I think the focus should be definitely on the unmet need that their child is facing.
And ma'am, when should a parent seek professional help in terms of after seeing those challenges that we listed? When is the time to seek professional help?
So I think it differs for every child and for every behavior. But like I said, if you feel that the child is, uh, behaving the same way for the last 2 weeks, 4 weeks, and there isn't much improvement, and there isn't much that you can identify as a caregiver, then definitely you can and you must seek professional help. Given the kind of stigma that we have around mental health and seeking professional help, I can understand the parent might not be very open to coming to a therapist or a child psychologist. But if you feel that the behavior is persistent, continuous in more than one environment, that is school, home, and outside also, then they must seek professional help.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am, for. I'll just check if there are any questions.
Sure.
I think, ma'am, for now we don't have any questions on the YouTube comments. And with that, I think we have come to an end to the webinar. And thank you, ma'am, once again for your insights and a wonderful session on children's mental health. And again, like this is the week for children's mental health. I think this
Yes.
is a topic that would be very beneficial for parents, educators, and caregivers. And on that note, I think we shall end the
Sure. Thank you so much. Thank you again for having me. Thank you.